Awesome. Good morning. I don't know if you noticed in the last session, if you took my last session, that we are now getting a summary from Webex, which is very cool. So I've been including it in my YouTube notes and dropping it right in. So good morning, everyone, on this Monday morning. Um, you are here for Google Tips and Tricks for new and not so new educators too. I'm going to pre-apologize because I'm going to be looking off screen because that is my bigger screen. And for those of you that don't know me, I am Bond, Virginia Bond, Bond like James of Virginia, like the state. And you are here for this model schools training this morning. So I have put the link for today's session in the chat. I will do it one more time. Please let me know if you have any questions as we're working our way through, and we're going to get started. So a lot of you were here for last session, but just in case you don't know who or where I'm from, I am actually from Northern New York, so way up on the Canadian border, Malone, and this is the county of Malone. It's not a very big county. It's next to the big county, which is St. Lawrence County. And I today am in Albany, so that's why I'm in my cubicle. But when I'm in Malone, I sit in the Malone School District, and I typically work from there. If you can't really put that in context, I am 5 minutes from the Canadian border, and I am 1 hour north of Lake Placid. All right, so agendas and standards, these have not changed. So my goal is that you will gain 3 to 5 new ideas for the school year, and then just get a deeper understanding of the Google tools as we use them. And the New York State Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards that we are covering today is really the Digital Literacy 2, which is communicating and working collaboratively with others. All right, so again, a little bit of vocab review. So waffle is always up in the top right-hand corner, the 3x3 array. So right in here, easy to find. Remember that you can move things around in your array, in your waffle. Always put the things that you are going to use the most at the top. Sorry, I did a big scan because I'm watching for Google Vids to come out into my waffle. If you don't know what Google Vids is, it's the brand new Google tool that's being released the end of Q2, which we are in August, so this is the end of Q2. And it will be released to anyone who has an Education Plus, so anybody that purchases Google. An omnibar or box, that's what this is right here, so the address bar. A deck. A deck is anything that is slides or PowerPoint. Working, which is a really weird word, but I call a working deck or a working doc something that is your own. Now, if you want to call it something else, a personal deck or doc that works for you, that's okay. I just tend to call it a working deck, a working doc. And then RC is to right click. I don't even know if I have any right clicks in here. All right, we're going to click that next slide. So I decided to start with one of the hardest tools there is, and that is Google Sheets. Remember my last tip from last time was the sheets.google.com. I'm also going to teach you a little bit of a trick. I had like an epiphany the other day, you know how when those things kind of happen. So I created a new folder on my desktop, and I'm going to call it GTT for new 2, okay? And it's going to kind of disappear. It doesn't really disappear. It just kind of goes down to the bottom. We're going to go find it in my, I'm saying that I'm going to do it, and then I can't find it because it's, let's see, where did that go? I think it went in one. Yeah, it sure did. There, I'm going to take it out of there. Sometimes that happens. In here, and I'm going to pull this in here. I'm going to grab this little link here and pull it in there. I want to show you this little trick that I thought might be super helpful for teachers sometimes. Because, you know, we start those mornings and we have all kinds of things going on. Just going to pull a couple of these in here. I'm going to grab this link and I'll pull it in this folder here. And I'm going to pull this link and I'm going to pull it in this folder here. I'm not pulling them all in, but I am going to pull a few of them in. Just want to show you a couple of things that I thought this might be super helpful. So I'm going to close all of those. So if I was prepping for a new day and I had a class period that I had to get ready for, I might have a folder up here that had the name of that class period. So let's pretend it was Earth Science. For the love of God, I'm going to tell you right now, I will never teach Earth Science. So anybody that teaches science, kudos to you, because that is not me. Good morning, Maria Stein. How are you? But what I can do is I can come into this folder right here, right click on it, and open all four in a new tab group. And I know we did tab groups last time, but the benefit of this is that I can make a little tab group that looks like this that I then can use throughout my day, or I can use in the mornings. So when you have your folder set like that and you come in, you can say, okay, I have 4 classes before I get my first break. So period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4. You can come in, all I did was right click on the folder, tell it to open them all in a tab group. And then when the tab group opens like this, all I have to do is give it a color, click on it, and I can collapse it down. That could just make your days a lot less stressful. I am down for anything that makes my life a little less stressful. All right, so my first one is I want you to create your own resource tabs. So I've created a doc, which is right here. I didn't link it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is it. Okay, so I created a Google Sheet. The one thing that I feel like most teachers are the most scared of is Google Sheets. So we're starting in a way that's a little less confrontational about Sheets, is to use it as an organizational structure. So you could see I went through and put a couple of things in here. So this is mine. This is the one that I use. And here you'll see I put a lot of links in. I also did a drop down. Remember we did drop downs in docs? You can also, if you create a drop down and you go at drop, it will create a drop. Well, it might, not today, at drop down. So you can drop down and it pops over. And all you have to do is say a new drop down and it comes over here as valid data validation, but it still functions as a drop down. Okay. And then you can put those pieces in and then you can just add it in, put the colors in. So this is all I did is I made my own. Basically like, hey, where'd you put stuff? Because sometimes I forget where things are. Like this is a link. This happens because I cleaned out my bookmarks a couple months ago and deleted all the bookmarks I really needed because I was being a little bit of an over cleaner. That never happens to anybody. So you can see where I have things and how I have them set up, right? It's pretty simple. I just put this link all the way down through, just something simple. So that's the first part. Then also in here, I put email lists. So here are my email lists. There's my list for you guys, right? We're going to use that in a couple minutes. Then I also have one for my instructional team, right? And what I did with them, just so you could see this happen once, I took all their emails like this. And one of the best things I use like all the time is I get emails like this and I want to split them. So I'm going to click on this over here. Then I'm going to go to data and I'm going to tell it to split the text to columns. And it's going to ask me how I want to do it. I want to delete it. And I'm just going to tell it to delete to separate by period. And it saw that. And then I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do this one right here. So I can pull the @neric.org off. Split text to columns. And I'm going to make it a custom. And then it should, it only pulled the .org off. So all I need is the @ to pull the @ off. And you can see what happens. And then my data separates. So I use it a lot because I hate separating things. And then the last thing is I have some resources in here for a actually for my Google Innovator project. So I just feel like having one of these is helpful. Now, maybe my structure doesn't work for you, but think about a structure that you use in your class. So if you're an elementary teacher, you can have it broken down by topics. So like ELA, math, science, and social studies, just to have those resources together. You could also, if you're teaching a content area in a middle school, high school, you can have it broken down by units. So a really good way to kind of pull your things all together. If you're comfortable, you can always share it with your students and just give them view access. Very simple way to quickly pull together a bunch of links. And this is not really different than a doc, except it goes tab to tab, which can be a little bit more organized, and then you can alphabetize them. So the next thing is to have this working reference doc. So basically this becomes my working reference doc, right? It's a document that I can use for a lot of things, but I also have others that I'm just going to show you a couple of them just so you could see them. So one of them sits in my other account. Please don't make me opt in. Of course. Anybody have one of those mornings? You are all going to recognize my life here because I'm going to have to opt it all the way in because that's just the way it goes. Right? All right. So I'm going to type my monstrous password in because I do have one that is forever long. And I will opt in. Anybody know what this is for? Bonus points, not that we're keeping score, but so this is multi-factor authentication. This is the system that we use at NERIC for it. So I'm going to do that very quick look through my information. So I'm going to do a advanced search. I'm going to look for something owned by me. Did this on purpose so you could kind of watch me using this in real time. Okay, so I'm just going to use, this is fine, a working doc. So this is an example of a working document. You will see that instead of using a document, I actually use the spreadsheet for a lot of reasons because I can have multiple tabs and I'm using the front page as a, how do I want to say this? Kind of a directions / instructions page. That's easy. And then I have some other things built in here. So like I have a list of people that have their roles in there that are pretty easy. Then I have people that have left, new teachers, tenure. So this is something I use for evaluations, but it's a simple way to have a document that it's a working reference document, something that I can go back to. It's also, I share those with the school districts, but you could share it with students. It's a way to share a document back and forth that they have access to, and I give them access to it so they can make changes. All right, the next one is really thinking about those drop-down documents, right? So this one actually, by the way, sorry, this is a Word document, not a Sheets document. We talked about drop-downs last time, so I wanted to make you a drop-down document so you could see what I meant. So this is an actual drop-down document. So this, again, is a working document for me. And basically, it has everything related to the various components of things that I work on all the time. For example, I work on NERIC PD Day, and I have these multiple different layers that I have in here as I'm working things to get them ready. This is like status. And then I have people who do PD also in here. So basically, I can copy this. I'm going to copy it, and I can create a new document. So we're just going to make a docs. So we're going to do a new tab, a docs.new. And because we remember everything I taught you from last time, we're going to call this a trial run. I'm going to make it, name it. I'm going to put it right away so I don't have to worry about trying to find it later. And then I can copy my drop down into this area. Why do I like this? Because with a drop down document, if you have one and you've created your class lists on one page, you can copy it into this drop down document, and then you have it, and you'll be able to copy it to other documents. You won't have to find it. The other thing I would recommend with this is that you put a star on this. So once you star it and you come back to your drive, it'll be right in here, and you just have to look for drop down document, right? So I have a lot in here that I have to fill out, but there, or clean out. So there's the drop down document. So think about using this area you're starred as something that you use a lot. So that was a doc, not a sheet. Okay, and I dropped it into the middle of sheets just for fun. Okay, here's the next one. So when I go back in, we're just gonna close a couple of these here. When I go back in and I look at this document and I say, okay, so great for copying and pasting. What does that even mean, Virginia? So I'm gonna go back to that reference document. Remember I said I had your email list? So I'm gonna just come down here and I'm gonna select those and I'm gonna copy them. And then let's say I just wanna share this drop-down document with you. I can come into my share button and instead of typing all of your names in there, I can just paste them all. See how they very neatly just come in and paste? So if you had your class names in there for that list, and you wanted to share a document with them, and you wanted to have it in a way that was quick and easy so that you could make sure you're able to see who was making what changes, you can very easily go back and forth and give them access to that. They will get an email when it comes through. I'm sorry that I just emailed all of you, but just remember that it's all good. You love me. All right. So it's a nice, quick and easy way. Really no different than having a email document. I just try to consolidate some of those things for you. If you're on a lot of committees, having your committees in there can be super helpful. So they can easily email everybody in a group without having to have access. I always like to think of this because sometimes school districts don't allow their teachers to have access into their group emails, right? So I wasn't allowed to email like a group of people. So I make those lists so they can help me, like email all the 5th grade teachers, email all the 6th grade teachers, email the elementary. Just makes it a little easier. And then go in and make an alphabetical list for your class. So we're going to go back into here, go back into the instructional team. And I'm going to clear out this information right here. I'm going to just delete it all. So I highlight it and I delete all the columns. And I can put name here. And I want this to alphabetize. So here's a trick. We're going to highlight that top row. We are going to freeze it under view. So when we freeze something, it doesn't move. So, and then we're going to alphabetize. Now don't do this, which is, okay, so I just stop for just 1 second. Don't do what most people or a lot of people do. They alphabetize by first name. I have to say that drives me insane. I hate it. But you can pretty easily. So if you've ever used Excel, the problem with Excel is that if you don't select everything, it will fragment. I don't know if that's the right word, but it'll break your data up. And you can easily break your data apart. I tend to hate that. I only say that because I've done it a couple of times, you know, by accident. You really can't do that with Google. Google says, oh, if you're trying to do this, we know you want to alphabetize, right? We know if you're trying to do something with a column of data that you want all the other data to come with it. And yes, I do. So if you go to the top here and you just click on that, the little selector arrow in the header, all you have to do is sort it from A to Z, and then it'll put your group in alphabetical order. Now, if that's not what you want, you could come here and you can click on column B, and now you can sort from A to Z, and now they're in alphabetical order from last name. What's the benefit of this? Well, you could use this as a paper sheet for your class in general, right? You could print it out. You can have a paper sheet. By the way, this corner will select everything, and then you can put grid lines in it if you want it. I don't have any grid lines in it right now, so easily can make grid lines. So let's say that, you know, Harry Heckle joins your classroom, right? And you just add his name there, or you actually add his name incorrectly because you're better than I am, especially on a Monday morning, and you put his, oh, we're going to make him Heckler because that's even better, right? And now you want them in alphabetical order, right? You could come in here and you could just quickly re-alphabetize them pretty quickly. So now your list is re-alphabetized. Just some things to think about using a sheet, because I feel like teachers are scared of sheets. My last one is let me teach you how to hide a column. Maybe you put in grades in here, right? Grades. And we're going to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have an average here. I'll quickly just do some quick grades because I want to show you a couple quick ways. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to grab that little circle. I'm going to pull that all the way down. It automatically gives everyone 100. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab that circle and I'm going to pull it this way. And it automatically gives everyone 100. And then I'm going to highlight my columns and I'm going to double click on a line and it will shorten them up. All right. I love that because it's very easy. Some very simple, quick things to do. And I'm just going to change a few grades in here. We're going to give a couple people, give myself a 5. I love it. 46, you know, 77, 33. Colin is usually the butt of all jokes. So we give him bad grades because, you know, 38, 22. All right. And now I'm going to do an average. So I'm going to come to the sigma, which is the function. I'm going to click on it and average pops up. And it just assumes I'm going to highlight from here to here. And then it's going to say, this is from C2 to I2. Yes, correct. I'm going to hit enter. And then it fills in everybody. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's right. So I am at the end of quarter 1. And now I want to start quarter 2. So I now have the ability to highlight my grades, right click on a column, and hide my columns. Not delete them, just hide them, get them out of the way, and then I can continue to work from there. When I want to show those again, all I'd have to do is right click on that little crack in there and say, I have to highlight to you. Highlight B and K around it, and I am going to tell it to unhide the columns. I love that feature because I can still have my data set all together, but I can move it out of the way. And that's, I think, using spreadsheets to do averages is huge. It just makes your life so much easier. Grades are the reason I didn't like teaching anymore because I had a lot of grades to do. So one of the reasons I left. So out of the set that we just did, so I did one in docs. I did a little bit with a tab set, and I also did a whole bunch in sheets. Which one did you find the most helpful? And if you can either unmute or you can put that right into the chat. I'll give you a couple minutes. I know I'm pulling you guys all on the spot. Hide, aha. Right, sorting data, right? New ideas, great idea, yep. Hide data, which isn't that funny? Being able to hide it off the side. Now, I didn't put a lot of directions on that, but you'll have that video, and I'll make sure I create a little mini video for that. You know, hiding data, like the best thing in the world, right? I think the more classes you take in sheets, the more you can learn. I took Jensen Giacomo's class in sheets, which is in our model schools catalog every once in a while. It's a 15 credit course. I highly recommend. It's like 0 to hero in sheets. And she was like, oh, you don't need to take this. And I was like, I learned so much. She's the first person who made not sorting, but and I can't even remember. It was a data set, something in data that I never could do. And I was so happy because I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. She's the first person that helped make sense of it. I encourage people to use sheets more often. They are, yeah, I agree, Stephanie. They are awesome. And they're like video based, which, because sometimes even I need to rewind and go back and do stuff again. And I'm like, okay, super helpful. All right, awesome. We're going to close that one and we're going to move on to forms. Forms, I think, is probably one of the underutilized for personal use. I feel like teachers have gotten really good at using forms for students, but I don't think we really stop and think about it for ourselves. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm going to go in here. This is the one I made for today, really generic because I'm not doing a lot with it. I'm not covering some of the big things, but first thing I'm going to tell you is stop leaving your forms all purple. Okay, I'm going to go, this is my account, my personal account. I'm going to just look for forms owned by me. Okay, forms owned by me. Look, I mean, I use forms a lot. But you notice what they're not. They're not all the color purple. Not that I have a problem with the color purple. The problem I have is if I didn't put headers on these and change the colors, I wouldn't know what they were for. So a couple tricks that I have done in the past, if I was teaching, I'd have my class periods all be assigned a color, and then I would make my forms to match that color. I used to do this my grade levels. My grade levels were a color, and anything I created for them was around that color. This is number one, it made my life easier for sorting. I would use that same concept with docs and forms. So in here, a form that we're going to use is this one. So I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to change the header. Now, all I have to do is click on the custom theme. This is one of the themes built in from forms. We've all seen it. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to upload my own image in here. So I'm going to click choose image and I'm going to upload. And I built this last night. So we're going to go out on the desktop and we're going to use this one. Okay. So it's so cute, right? It's really not what I'm using it for, but it's fine. Very cute. The minute I put a form, I put a picture in that's my own, it will give me a new color set. So I can just pick the colors I like. What if I don't like them? That would never happen. Of course it would. And maybe I would rather have like this color in here. I really like those yellows. So I'm like, oh, I want to find that yellow. And I'm going to add this one right there. I can come in, I'm going to add that as a custom color. And then I can actually pick my backgrounds to like match it a little better. I like that. That's good. This color that you choose is going to go right in here. And then you can pick another color. So that's one thing I like to do. Let me show you how I made that because that is not magic. In here, there is a custom header form. We're going to open that up. You should have access to this. All you need to do is follow the directions. It's pretty easy. I went in and I think this is a generic one. If you just grab this color box back here, you can change just the background and pick a different color. You can layer colors, right? Remember that when you use this, and this is actually for Google Classroom, but you can use it in forms as well. So when you put anything in here, right, you can also put in a picture. So I'm just going to upload from my computer. I have a folder here. And let's say I'm going to use this one, right? And I'm just going to stick a picture over there. You absolutely can do that. So you can pull one of those in there. And then all you do is file, download as a JPEG. and you're going to name it. I'm going to throw this on my desktop. And the reason I put stuff like this on my desktop is so that I can find it later. And then I just put it away when I'm done. So now take that image, take that one out, put that in here. We will upload instead, browse for that. I'm just going to look for the color. It's right here. And done. Okay, and it'll automatically pop in. I love custom headers. I just think they're so much nicer than, I've just been through all the other ones that are in there. Also, this is someone I met at Google Innovator Academy. He owns his own business. Highly recommend. These are very cute. They're really adorable. They're like, right? It's a really cute one. Like if you're into these kind of things, he's got some that are already pre-made, but you can see some of the ideas that he has in there. You have access to those, so you can grab some of those. So use some different pictures, use some different colors, use your own pictures, right? Even pictures around your class, which can be good. Then I'm going to encourage you to collect your own data, right? Stop just using forms for your students, maybe to give a quiz, but like really collect some data of your own. So in here is a parent communication form. Just a couple ideas. We used to have to keep track of our parent communication. We had a parent communication log, a contact log. Oh, it was a paper log. I think they still use a paper log. That would drive me insane. So what I did is I built this. It basically has the date, the parent to who, the parent guardian, the type of contact. So it would look like this. I would click in here and I would say Amelia, and I would say Jarrett, right? And I might put dad in here. It's my son. We would do email, and then I could just copy and paste. I don't think I have anything saved in here yet, but if I had anything in here, I would type in the conversation, or I would just paste in the conversation. Same thing. Ooh, that's really nice. So I just push it out and save it. So the benefit of this is really when you come back in and the parent has said, well, I haven't had any communication with you. And you're like, well, yeah, you have, because I sent this, and this. I received I received nothing back. So we have a response in here. They're going to be all your responses, but you will actually have the date when you send something. They will feed in here. If you feel like you need to, do some other things like covering, you can link it to a sheet, and then you can bunch all those communications together for that person in the way we just use it in sheets. So it's another great way to use a form for yourself. Also, I use it as an attendance sheet. So again, this is a form that I built for myself. So anybody that has to keep track of items, I used to use this when I was doing live training. So I'd have a bit.ly built for this, and I just push the bit.ly out, but it just basically has like who took what, when, right? Certain things I have to keep track of. I also like to know what BOCES, so I just know this is the model schools, what buildings. Just most of the time I know this information for most people, and I'm filling this out. It allows me to keep track of my data of who I do trainings for. So anything that you collect, make it into a form, because then you can get information, data into that spreadsheet that's going to allow you to use some of the data that's in there. And also remember that when you get data back on a form, I'm going to go into this one, right? You get these really nice little charts that you can literally copy and then bring into a deck, right? And you can, if you link it, it will stay updated. So when I bring it in like this, you quickly can pull that data out of that spreadsheet into a classroom deck. So you can even do that with kids. You can do a pre-survey with your students, like a KWL, to see where they are, bring that data into the deck to see where they were at the beginning and then where they are at the end. It's a great way to kind of collect your own data without having all those other things out there. Okay, another big trick is really reuse by copying. So I'm going to go into mine. This is a perfect one to use. I'm going to, so when you reuse a form, what it's going to do is it's going to strip data out of it. So I'm going to right click on this one and I'm going to make a copy. You notice I'm doing this in Drive. So I'm going to right click, make a copy. I come right down here because it's going to show me where it puts it. I'm going to see the location. And when I come into it, it's going to be right here. When I double click this, guarantee you that had data in it. It strips the data or the respondents out of the information, which is a great thing to do. Also, if you don't want to do that, you just want to change it up a little bit, you can also go into these. I'm trying to find my one that was in before. We'll use this one. And you can send this data to a specific sheet. Like if I wanted to send this and collect a sheet, I can add the data for this to another sheet on another tab. So you can collect your information from multiple forms onto an existing spreadsheet. All you have to do is click the right one where you want it to go. And what it'll do, it will open, and it just takes a minute, onto a new tab. It's a great way to kind of keep data all together, and it's much easier. All right, so we're going to close that. We're going to close this and go back to our information. So think about using forms for yourself, not just for other people. One other thing I want to show you in here that I didn't add, I don't know why, because I just wasn't thinking, is if I come in here, I don't want you to forget that you can import like this. I can use the import button and I can pull data from another form. So I don't always have to make these again. So let's say I want to insert this and it says, well, what do you want? Here's the information that you're asking for. So maybe I just want this whole section added, and I can add sections in. So think about, in my first period class, I'm always asking these 3 questions. Instead of pulling it in, I just want to add those pieces back in. Yes, you can absolutely do that. And so you can see where it's in there pretty easily to clean up without having to retype the whole thing. Okay, so now I got another stopping point. So this is a lot in forms with only 3 sides. Tell me what your favorite piece was out of forms. Like, what did you pick up? What did you find helpful for there in forms? And then we're going to do the slam to the end. Oh, the header. Well, Stephanie, I love the fact that I did not create that header template. I found it from someone else. Yeah. When you import data and create new sections, are you able to make the title font larger in the next session? Oh, you know what? You can. Yes. Yes, yes. Let me see. Let me go back to the one I just made. That's a good question. I did so many forms. So if you come in here, right, and I go in here, can I highlight this bold and change the font size? You know what? You'd have to go back and do it at the beginning. Nope, 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 not there. There is a way. It's in settings. As soon as I click this, I knew exactly where I was trying to get to. If you come into, it's not in settings, Virginia, right in here, in the theme, it's in a weird space because we don't really think of this as colors, right? You can come in here, the header types. This is the header, so let's see what happens. That changes that, and I do believe that changes the text sections. We just have to kind of see, maybe it doesn't. You know what? That's a great question. Header's just header. I'm trying to use something that's really different. Nope, you can't. Good question, Maria. You know what? I'm going to give you a suggestion. So somewhere on this form, there is a question mark. right here. I would suggest that you report a problem. It's not really a problem, but Google really, and so what you see in here is suggest an idea. Yeah, I love that. You know what? The Google really does listen to its end users. So suggesting an idea, you'd come in here and you'd write it up. So go ahead and you can actually capture that. You can't like send a screenshot. They love that because the Google Forms team will absolutely look at that. And Google Forms is up for an update. See how I said that like that, right? Yeah, importing whole sections is huge, right? Yeah, absolutely, Maria, and get your friends to do it and do it every day. The more you do it, the more they see it, the more they will respond. Every time it drives you crazy, absolutely send them a copy of that because I think it's important that they see that, and they really do listen to teachers. They listen to the end users, and that's important. Okay, so now let's talk about slides. Probably, I don't want to say it's my favorite tool. It's absolutely the one I use the most because I'm doing a lot of presentations. Okay, number one, I just want to say this, and I saw one of my friends say this the other day. Your slides do not have to be pretty. Stop thinking that your slides have to be pretty. Be careful where you're making the pretty. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, these are pretty slides, but this is literally a slide deck that I just used the theme for. So when I put it in present mode, you don't see all those pieces hanging up. We don't have to have our slide decks for our kids be like the ultimate ending and many, many different things. I have a set of them that I just use over and over again to keep it simple, stupid for me, because otherwise I will perseverate on a slide deck and there's absolutely no reason for that. I'm here to give you information, not to make it look pretty. So that really falls to my 80-20 rule, okay? So we are always talking about content first and then pretty. I'll be honest, I set myself a timer when I am looking for a slide deck theme, and I give myself 3 minutes. And that's it. If I haven't found something by 3 minutes, I look at the last one I was on and I just take it and run with it. That's it. So when I talk about 80-20 rule, I'm just gonna use my hands. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute because I think it's important that you can see my hands while I do this. So 5 days you're gonna do a project with your kids. I want you to have them work on content for 80%. That is 4 days worth of content, okay? They are working only on content. And then for the last day, they can do pretty. Now, if you get to the last day and they don't have enough content, they still have time to work on content. And why do I do this? Because I grade content, not pretty. I don't care if it's pink and sparkly and things are flying in. That doesn't matter to me. That is every middle school child's dream. Maybe not the pink and sparkly, but every middle school girl's dream is pink and sparkly. That's not important. I can't grade pretty. I can, but it's not going to give you the grade that you need. So grading on content first and then pretty always works. So think about it even with like an hour. You're going to give the kids 80% of that time. So what is that? 80% of 60 is 48 minutes, right? Somewhere in there. So you're basically just give them 50 minutes to work on content and 20% on pretty. So it's really important you stick to that rule so kids are not perseverating on certain things. The other way around that is you make them choose a theme. You make them choose a theme, they stick with it, and then they stay there. That really helps break that cycle of having to have everything perfect. Honestly, that's what I personally do. I pick a theme and I just run with it. I may change the font, but that's it. The other thing is that when we're working with students, you'll notice that my slides are not a lot of text. They are usually a picture, or there are like bullets. I always say to people, it's really hard to come to my slide decks and know what they mean because they are pretty low on information, right? They're limited. That's because remember, this is visual text, especially with students. So if you want to use words, I encourage students to put them down there in the speaker notes. And a lot of people want them. I'm okay with that. What we don't want is what we will see every staff development day is somebody comes and reads their slides to us, right? So that's absolutely abhorrent. We all hate it. There are times when a slide must be read, but it should be giving a visual cue to a person to remember what it was about. Okay, the next thing, we're going to make a new slide deck. So I'm going to do some of the things I love, slides.new. We're going to use that nice trick. And then I'm going to make it, I'm going to name it. We're going to call it it. That sounds like fun. And I'm going to put it away. You know, we're going to make it, name it, put it away, because I do the same thing all the time. So why do I always put them in folders? So I can get rid of them when I'm done. All right, it's all done. So now here's my slide deck. I'm going to give it a quick background. I don't have to, but just so you can see, it's going to help. And then I am going to just quick entry it. And all I'm going to do is just hit enter multiple times. So doing that, what it does is it gives me the most common layout there is, and that is title body, right? So every one of these is title body. So if I'm working through this very quickly, can do that without having to worry about, oh, because I'm from a Microsoft world where it was like insert new slide, insert new slide, insert new slide. It also sits right here, but I don't want to do that. I just want to hit enter, enter, enter. By the way, this is a brand new, like kind of cool little funky little thing here. In case you haven't seen that little menus, I didn't even go into that because that's kind of fun. So for those of you that like to dig around, Maria Simon, thinking of you, right? That's a kind of neat little place where you can do some simple things. That is what I call quick entry. It's really fun, pretty simple. And then you can just change the layout. The next one, let's talk about some internal linking in the deck. So I'm going to go back to my, I'm going to go in this deck, and I'm going to take this right here. I highlight it. I'm going to right click on it. And I am going to link. And instead of clicking, putting a link in there, I'm going to go to slides in this presentation. And you will notice it has information on it, it has names. That is because when I create my slides, one of the first things I always do is I come through and I always type in that title box. When I type in the title box, what it does is it names every slide. And because of that, I am able to internally link from slide to slide. Now I gotta find it again. So I'm gonna do that one more time. Highlight. I'm gonna Control K this time for the link. Slides in the presentation. And let's say this goes to vocabulary slide. It's pretty easy to do. Once you learn it, it's like game changer. So I want you to think about it in a different way. You can have a title, like your title page, that have the names of your students, and you can have them linked to a different slide in the deck, or a picture that links to a different slide in the deck. And that way it will automatically jump them back to where they need to be. So you can have students, you can preset a deck that has them going where they need to be. Now, let's just make that a little bit more exciting, is that you can reuse that deck for other people. So you could just have it be a starting deck, a starting slide. It can be like student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. Remember, only 10 can really work well on a slide deck, so you might need 2 decks for an entire class, or have them collaborate. So it could be group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, whatever. And you could save it, and then you could use it as a template for your whole year. So you could just make a copy of it, and it would jump to where the kids need to be. The good news is that I insert a new slide in the middle between where I have it linked and somewhere else. That link will automatically update and it will stay live. So you don't have to worry about going back and relinking this to slide 4. So if I come up here and I put a new slide here, and that is no longer slide 4, when I come to slides in this presentation, it automatically updated it to slide 5. Huge. Love this. That is like one of those things can be really helpful and is a great way to use it. Next thing is let's put our options into, I'm going to put my slide into present mode. I never use present mode because I'm always showing something off. But when you come in here and come down to the bottom, you have this like hidden little baby in here. So let's pull some of these things out. You can open the speaker notes, of which I never have any. So if I had some in there, it would be great. But I'll show you how long it takes you on this slide. It's a great way to teach your kids how to present. So you also have some nice pieces in here, like the audience tools. When you come in here, you can do some new things, and I could ask some questions. I'm never going to do that, just so you know. Maybe I will sometime. Next thing, you can turn on your laser pointer. Ooh, so all of us that like that, you know, have this back so you can use it. Very cool. Can't change the color. You can turn on the pen. So math teachers that get all into like writing on things, because, right? Or you're an English teacher and you have text on here, because there are times, don't judge my non-ability to draw a straight line. You have the ability to write on there very easily without any problems. This, when I refresh the page, will go away, by the way, so you don't have to worry about that. When you come out of present mode, that will go away. So let me do that one more time. Go into select, we'll draw on it. When we come out of it, it will disappear, so you don't have to worry about that being there, right? So if I go like that, exit full screen, you also have auto play is in here. The other thing, you can change the color on that and turn it off. I don't want that on there. And then let's go back a slide. Also in here is captions. If you'd like to have closed captions turned on, right, you can have them turned on and it will speak as it will go through and also do that as well. So that is, that takes a little bit of time to get used to, but it is a nice feature to have. So I'm going to escape out of that as well. All right, so that's some options in there that are pretty cool. Next one, think big. So stop using individual slides. Just put it all together. And honestly, if you use some internal linking, that's really going to help with that. So what we just did, you know, you could have, you can put a link somewhere on page 1. So when you open it, it'll go right back to where you started. Or you can come over here and you can add a comment to yourself, and it just says, right? Right, and you can just, I could click that and it gets okay, Virginia. Or you can say, start here with period 2. Right, and you just, then all you have to do is when you log in, you come in, you look for the comment and you're like, oh, I'm good to go. All right, and now I'm all done with that. You're done, right? And you can put a date on that. You can also move that pretty easily as you're working your way through. So it's a nice way to use it. So let's think about collaborative presentations. So this is a little different way to use a slide deck. I think most people get a little nervous when we have kids in here. So I'm going to show you what I created. And here's an all about me deck. This is a great thing to do your first day of school. You're going to create a visual, right? You're going to find a slide. You're going to create with a couple images that represents you and your summer, or you can have students do this and not put their picture on and have them figure out who is who in the classroom. It's a really fun thing to do because number one, what it allows you to do is it allows you to find out what skills your students have or don't have on the first day of school. So basically I built one. This is my summer, right? You can see what it looks like. Pretty simple. Like this is what my summer is. This took me, I mean, I'm pretty quick with it, but it took me under a minute to build, right? I just popped in my images that I have. Now I use images from my laptop because I had them, but students could use images just from the internet because all they're going to do is insert an image. You may need to teach that skill or run with it and not teach them. Now, the other thing you'll notice is I put no text on there. I added no text boxes. I just wanted it to be all images. Now this would be easy to figure out who it is. This is my name on it, but this is a nice thing to do. And this is reusable because you can then have your students use that as a display for the first day of our open house when parents are coming in to see things. So that is a really fun, easy thing to make for the first days of schools. Now, when you're working on a collaborative dependent deck, I think I went a little ahead. I went a little ahead of myself. When you're working on a collaborative dependent, you're having multiple students in the deck. So think about students working on that. And then they put in a comment above them and below them. So they do their own slide, then they comment on the slide above them and comment on the slide below them. I recommend anytime you do things like this that you put students on a timer. Some will finish, some will not. They just need to learn how to do things under pressure. Doesn't have to be a lot, and you can give them 10 minutes of time. You want to see what they can and can't do. And I'd be honest with them. Some of you are going to finish, some of you are not. That's okay. We want to see how comfortable we are as we kind of work our ways through. I did link this, so feel free to make your own copy if you would like. My last two are in slides. Nope, they are in calendar. We're going to delete that group. All right. So I'm going to go out to calendar. You'll notice that I have a link, bookmark for calendar, just because it makes my life much simpler. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, oh, look at that. I deleted my deck. Right there. It's 3 minutes. I'll whip right through. I only have 2 slides left, so it's good. 3 sides. Make sure you change the view. So changing the view. I have week, D is for day, W is for week, M is for month, Y is for year, S is for settings. Who knew? Found that one accidentally yesterday, and I was really happy that I did. And A is for agenda. If you're a person that likes an agenda like that, this is a great way to find one, right? Simple. I am very much a week girl. I like to see my week at a time. This just really helps me as I'm traveling, just to see where I am and what I'm working on. So that helps my life stay pretty simple. Now yours might be defaulting to 4 days. I have gone into my settings and I've changed mine to 7 days. You can definitely do that by coming in when you are in your calendar over here. If you click on it, there's a way when you go into your settings, you can make some changes. You also default your own color. Remember that this works as a layover. So I'm going to show you what happens when I add the big one in here. Go out of the way, thank you. When I add my daughter's calendar in here, right, it will tend to get not so bad right now, but then it starts to get crazy. All this green is the University of Vermont athletics. She's a coach over there. So I tend to put that over there because I like if I want to go see her team's playing a game, I want to see it. So I can just layer that on top. Next one. Please attach agendas. Please. I can't say this enough. Okay, so this is today's training. You will notice there's the link to today's deck. This is a training I'm doing at 10 o'clock. This is a link to the document I'm using. So when you do that, even if you just attach it for training purposes, all your stuff is easy to find. That is how Google Classroom Calendar works. So don't forget that as well, because really important that you know that. And then my last one is this. Block out some time for yourself for some personal learning. You'll see in here, I put that in there. It's a little hard to do during the school day, but take your prep time and divide it up so you know when it is. So if you know that you have grade level meetings a certain day, put them in your calendar so you see them there, and then leave yourself some personal learning. Doesn't have to be a lot. 15 minutes can do a lot every once in a while. You'll notice I also do things like this. Don't forget to use your calendar. My husband bought Word subscription. I'm reminding Billy to remove his Word subscription so he doesn't get paid some ridiculous amount, right? just things to keep in mind. All right, so out of the last few things I did, what were your favorites? And I am going to stop sharing. I'm gonna close that right out. What were your favorites? Changing the settings in calendar. Oh man, right? That's a simple one, but it's not simple if you don't know where it is. So that can be really helpful. Awesome. Fantastic. All right, and it is 9:01. I appreciate you guys hanging out to the bitter end there. And please reach out. No clue about the decks, right? Awesome. I love that, Melody. Making my day. I will be sending out the link when I get it. I'm booked this morning, so it'll be later, probably this afternoon. Again, I am asking, I appreciate everybody that went in and filled out the form. I know it's a little different for those of you who've taken a class before, but I got some really good feedback on the form, so I'm going to be offering a class on more Google Sheets and more Google Classroom tips and tricks to be a little bit more specific. Feel free to put your ideas in there because that is super helpful for me to really see what people are looking for as far as trainings. And I hope you have a great week. And thank you so much. I will send the link out as soon as I get them. Have a great day.